Hello, welcome to Constitutional Chowder. Or as recommended, I should say chowder. We don't all say it that way in New England, but some do. This is a short video series I thought I would share with you about our Constitution, our United States Constitution, which I happen to be a big fan of. I've studied the United States Constitution as just like fun and a hobby for many, many, many years. I use it in a lecture I do every year about the 17th century witch panics. Not really going to be focusing on that, but I am going to be talking to you about the basic amendments and our Constitution and how it affects us as American citizens and just people in America. So let's start. To start off with, I am not an attorney and I do not play one on TV. But you know what's really cool about our Constitution? You don't have to be an attorney. Our Constitution protects us, whether you know anything about it or not. And that's the whole point. I'm going to start with the preamble. There are 3 parts to our Constitution, and the preamble is what our Constitution's purpose and our government structure is kind of laid out. Very short, very sweet. We the people, that's really important. Let me stop again. Say it a little slower. The first 3 words, really significant. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. That's the preamble. We, the people of the United States, can't emphasize that enough. What that means, this is our Constitution. These are our laws. And what does it mean? What does this Constitution of ours mean? Well, it's broken down into 3 parts. You have the preamble, which I just read. Then you have the articles, 7 articles. And that is the blueprint, the outline, the articles. The 7 articles of the Constitution is the user manual of rules, laws that our government is supposed to follow. And then the amendments are basically, our rights as American citizens. Actually, I'm gonna amend that. Anyone on American soil has the protection of our Constitution. Did you know that? Yeah, right now there's all kinds of talk about, rounding up illegal immigrants and shipping them off. They are afforded the same constitutional protections as every other person in this country. And our government needs to follow the same laws. So, and that's the thing. We have the preamble I just read to you, the articles, which is what our government needs to follow, and then the amendments, which are our rights as citizens. So let me read real quick. Sorry, I'm just getting over a cold. The articles, and I'm not going to go through every line of every article because we would be here for months, if not longer. The articles, in brief, there's 7 articles. The first article references the legislative branch. Legislative branch is first. Now, that is, for those that aren't really familiar, and a lot of people don't study the Constitution. They might touch on it in schools. I hope they still do. The legislative branch is our Congress. That is our House of Representatives that introduce the laws, and if it passes, it goes to the Senate. That's where our laws, our Congress is made up of the House of Representatives and our Senate. Then we have Article 2, the executive branch. That's the President of the United States. Then we have Article 3, judicial branch, which are the federal courts, the Supreme Court, and those are the guys that are basically, taking care of the enforcement of the rules, the laws, making sure. Now, the legislative branch is making the laws. The judicial branch is enforcing that the laws are being followed. And the executive branch, they have their particular duties also. I will be swinging around after we finish all 27 amendments in a few weeks to discuss in more detail the specific articles and how our government is supposed to work. Then we have Article 3, judicial branch. Article 4, relationships between the states. That's important because we want every state to kind of play nice with one another. Then we have Article 5, amending the Constitution. That's really important. Article 6, prior debts, national supremacy clause, and oaths of office. We'll be talking especially national supremacy clause when we get to the 10th Amendment. That's really interesting. And then Article 7, ratification. Now, today we're going to talk about the First Amendment. And what I said before about the government, the articles are the user manual for the government on the laws that were laid out by our founding fathers way back when it was all put together and, kind of signed, sealed, and delivered back in the late 1700s. We had a new country, and we're moving forward. They said this is going to be how we run our country. Well, the first 10 amendments were called the Bill of Rights, or are called the Bill of Rights. They were ratified in 1791. I believe it was December 15th, 1791. And these are the amendments. They started those right away because they had the outline. This is the rules and laws for the government. This is how we're going to govern this country. The executive branch, legislative branch, and the judicial branch. Well, the people, we the people, that is really important. So they're like, well, we need to come up with a Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights. Bill of Freedom. The freedoms for the American people, that we can live our lives and go for that pursuit of liberty and justice and happiness. And I don't know if you noticed, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, that's our children and our descendants, forever and ever and ever in perpetuity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Do you notice that there is no mention of God? Our founding fathers did that specifically. No mention of God. You have church. This is government. And they were very specific. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an oversight. This was not established as a Christian country. So get that out of your head. If that's a concept that you have been laboring under mistakenly, it's not. It never has been. And it shouldn't be. There are over 200 religions that are recognized in the United States. And we'll get to the First Amendment. The First Amendment has 5 parts: freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. Gabby is also a constitutional scholar. She's way better than me, so she's going to visit with us. These are our freedoms in the First Amendment. And again, it's such an important point to make out. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this video series is, as those of you that have followed me on social media know, I look at so many different social media sites. I love listening to people's comments and just, I'm one of those lurkers. I don't always comment on different pages that I follow, but I love getting insights from people and listening to their thoughts and their viewpoints. And I think it's fascinating because that's a wonderful thing about our country. Whether I like what you have to say or not, we have that freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of having our own opinion. And it is a American citizen right where we don't have to worry about the government coming in and arresting us, imprisoning us, shooting us, punishing us, as many countries to this very day do. This is one of our freedoms. The first is the freedom of religion, and that I have these in order as they were written. Freedom of religion is number 1. The founding fathers did not just say, oh, well, let's throw up 5 in the air and see how they land. Freedom of religion was significantly chosen as number 1. And that means you have the freedom to have any religion or no religion. Having a national, as we just recently have a national anti-Christian bias faith initiative office in our executive branch right now in the White House. Absolutely abhorrent when it comes to our Constitution. That has never happened in the 250 plus years that we've been a country. Because if there's going to be an office like that in our White House, there needs to be another 250 plus offices recognizing an office for every single religion. So that it's ridiculous. And also an office for those that don't have a religion or haven't chosen yet. It means that the government can never come in and say, you've got to go to church on Sunday. And yes, that was what happened in the 1600s and the early 1700s, where if people did not go to church, they were taxed. If people did not go to church, they were shunned and humiliated. You could be found punished out in the town square by being put into the stocks, by being jailed, again, taxed or somehow being fined. No longer. We had a government established where you can choose any religion or no religion. Freedom of speech. This one has come up a lot lately. I see it all the time on social media. Someone writes something on social media and they get banned. Inevitably, somebody will put something on there like, oh my God, where's my freedom of speech? You don't have freedom of speech on social media. Our government doesn't own social media. Last time I looked, There is no government-owned social media. Every social media site I've ever seen so far, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Facebook, X, TikTok, I can't even think of any more now, Blue Sky, they're all privately owned by somebody. They're not government-owned, not by the United States government. So, private citizen to private citizen, yeah, this doesn't apply. This is the government to the American citizen. And you know how I can prove this point to you really quickly? You work at a job, go to work, and tell your boss off. Go to work in a retail establishment and say something really offensive or, you know, very offensive to a customer. See how long you keep your job. And rightfully so. You'll get bounced and there will not be a thing you can do about it. Now, it has been court tested and, you know, proven that if you get pulled over by a police officer who is the government and you call the police officer a nasty name or something, that's okay. I mean, I don't think it's going to help your case if you're trying to get out of a ticket, and I don't recommend it. But that is citizen to government, okay? Technically, they can't punish you for doing that. Now, will they? Okay. Human beings are human beings. It doesn't mean it's right. Right now, we happen to see an awful lot of things happening in our country that are in violation of our Constitution. I think you'll see that for yourself, or maybe not. You'll tell me. But freedom of speech does not apply at all on social media. So if you get banned because you said, or now, Gabby, you can't get written. You see, Gabby's like, let me check this out. Do we have freedom of speech in here? No, Gabby, you can't do that. So yeah, on social media, it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply citizen to citizen, only citizen to government or government to citizen. So, freedom of press. I love this one. Well, I love all the Constitution, but freedom of press right now, for the last several years, we have been hearing a lot about fake news. We have been hearing a lot of, I'm going to put this over here where somebody can't get at it. We've been hearing a lot of fake news, a lot of fake media, false media, simply because some individuals, I'm sorry to say, but from my point of view, it looks like some thin-skinned individuals that aren't being stroked enough, haven't got enough adulation, don't like what's being said about them in the press, or don't like how they come across in the press. Well, they get angry and they're calling it fake news. The thing is, though, I think I mentioned this the last video I had, it's the illusory truth effect. If you say something enough times and you keep saying it enough times, even though people know better, even though they've seen with their own eyes, some people are apt to believe it. Even if they say, don't believe what you see, don't believe what you hear, believe me. And if they say it enough times, and they say it enough times, and they say it enough times, well, we've seen it ourselves. People will start to believe it. So, The press is out there, just like the National Enquirer. Remember the National Enquirer? Do they even exist anymore? I don't know. Nobody had a problem with them. You know, aliens landed in my backyard and, you know, taught my dog how to speak French. And I mean, used to see those headlines. Nobody had a problem with that. We knew it was made up. Some people loved reading that type of fiction, and they bought it willingly and enjoyed those stories. I'll admit, back in the day, I bought a couple copies myself. They were entertaining as all get out. But I knew they weren't real. I love horror movies. I know they're not real either, because I have a brain and I'm able to differentiate between what I can see as real and not. And if there's a question, I can do the proper research and I can look for various and sundry sources. And there's a lot of fact-checking sources out there, and you know there are. So if you want to say fake news, fake media, the media, they're just ruining this country. No, we have a free press in this country, and it's one of our most fundamental freedoms, because our newspapers, our media, our television news, there are countries on this earth that those programs are not allowed. They're not allowed under military law, under martial law. And what I mean by that is, if you try to have a newspaper, you tried to have a magazine, you tried to have a television show like that, you would be shot dead. So you might not like fake media, but why? Nobody is in your house forcing you to watch it or believe it. But to say, I'm not watching any of it. I'm not watching any of it. You really can't trust your mind to determine if it's factual or not? Wow. Huh. I mean, somebody has power over you, doesn't it? They have extreme power over you, that they've got you to believe that. Free press is something we have in our country. I'm going to have to actually look to see. We might have been one of the first countries to actually establish a free press, at least in a constitution that gave us the right to choose to read whatever magazine, newspaper, propaganda or not, that we want to read. And if we choose not to read it, then we choose not to read it. Now, under freedom of speech, freedom of the press, there have been some court cases that if that spoken or written word comes under hate speech specifically designed to incite violence, that can and should be stopped. We can look back to 1939 Germany with the rise of the Nazi regime and how that happened. When people's lives are put in jeopardy, when people have to fear for their very safety because of words written or spoken, the courts have said, have judged or ruled that that is not acceptable. Now, you can say whatever you want, your opinion, whatever, but when it's directed, targeted, deliberately to harm a group of people, yeah, that's not cool. And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You can sit in your own house and spout off at the walls or the ceiling all your hate and all your, vitriol, fine. But when you go out and try to organize to get groups of people to incite violence, there's something wrong there. And then we get to the freedom of assembly, freedom of petition. That is where we get the right to protest. Now, the right to protest comes under 3 of these. Freedom of speech, so we can protest and peacefully assemble. And petition, so we can have signs, we can assemble in a place, and we can speak out about things that we are upset about or that we dislike with our government. We're not happy as an American people, and that is happening around the country right now, and that is protected by law. The only thing the government can do is they can control where, when, possibly how long that you can be out there protesting. They might say, no, you can't protest on private land. Public land is usually allowed simply because it's government public land. And that is the right place to protest. If you're on somebody's front lawn, I don't care if it's a senator or a representative or something like that. You don't get to go to their private home and terrorize them, because that's not cool. Don't terrorize people. But if you go to a public park, a government location, sometimes you do have to get a permit. You have to find out the laws in your city, town, state to protest. Find out, make sure you know the laws so you can protest peacefully. And that's the whole thing, peacefully. So the First Amendment, freedom of religion. Have any religion you want or no religion. I have an issue with the changes that have been made in our government over the years, because initially our Congress did not start with a prayer. Way back when. Congressional sessions didn't start with prayers. They were very good with, if you want prayer, you go to church. Go to Congress, you make laws. And that's as it should be. And I don't know, I'll ever live today to see the day that it goes back to the way it should be. Freedom of speech. Say what you'd like to say, when you like to say it, unless you're trying to cause harm or death to others. Freedom of the press. Really give that some thought, because the free press, you have the right to buy any paper, watch any newscast, read any magazine that you want to, pretty much in the privacy of your own home, and make up your own mind. Right now, there's a lot of people out there trying to make up your mind for you by calling it fake news or calling it fake media. Or right now, there's actually some media outlets that have been banned from the White House. Unfortunately, some of the courts are supporting that. Our Constitution is in jeopardy right now. But right now, the government might need to be reminded that we, the people, are the ones that are actually the power in this country. There's nobody in our government that is there that has not been elected. There is nobody in our government that is there that should be there that has not been elected. Because this is the United States of America, and they're there because we, the people, have chosen to elect them. Whether you like them or not, if they've been elected or if they've been appointed by congressional oversight, that's as it should be. Anyone that is in our government that has not gone through congressional approval, and has followed the rules, we have problems. Because as I will swing around back to the articles of the Constitution when I'm done with the 27 amendments, and next week at the same date and time, we can go through more than just one amendment, because the Second Amendment, real quick, real fast, I think you'll find that one kind of interesting, because I think you'll find it surprising that it's not exactly what you thought the Second Amendment was. So we could probably go through a couple amendments next week, and then in a few weeks we'll finish up the 27 amendments, and then we'll swing around to the 7 articles of the Constitution after you see exactly how the 27 amendments give you all the rights and freedoms as an American citizen. Then we'll go back and actually look at the user manual of the government and see the laws that they're supposed to follow, so that they can govern us as we elected them to do. And I hope you found this interesting. And I will talk to you next Tuesday at 5:05. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. And I hope you feel this was interesting. And if you liked it, I hope you'll share it. And this was Constitutional Chowder, or Chowder. American stew of our laws and our freedoms. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. Bye.